Join me for this full interview of Bruce Bochy by Steve Phillips of the MLB Network from FanFest 2024.
Well, good to see everybody. Thanks for having me. I'm the former Mets general manager, Steve Phillips. I work for MLB Network Radio, and we're going to do this interview with Bruce Bochy as part of a town hall for SiriusXM. So it's going to be about an hour interview. We're going to take a few breaks in between, just short breaks, but it'll turn into this. And then on Monday at 4 p.m. Central Time, you can listen to the hour interview with Bruce and myself on SiriusXM Radio, Channel 89. So you can check that out. Also, if you don't know who I am the guy that gave Bobby Bonilla that lifetime annuity. So Bobby Bonilla gets that big payment on July 1st every year. You're welcome. That's from me. So if you need some investment advice later, I'll be available to talk about that for lifetime annuity. All right, without further ado, it is my distinct pleasure to welcome the 2023 World Series champion manager for the Texas Rangers, Bruce Bochy.
Yeah.
Bruce wants to negotiate with me. Grab a seat.
Hello. How are we doing today? Good to see everybody. It's great to see you guys. Man, it's exciting to see all these fans here. Thanks for coming out.
It is. All right, well, welcome to a very special town hall on SiriusXM MLB Network Radio with the manager of the world champion Texas Rangers, Bruce Bochy, at Globe Life Field in front of thousands of fans here at the FanFest. What an event this is. And, Bruce, when you thought last year, hey, I want to come back and manage again, was this part of the image and thought that you had it could turn into this?
Well, I'll be honest, it was part of the vision. When CY and I were talking, that this is what would happen, what we would see. Now, for it to happen the first year, I'm picturing myself true, believe me. But it's just incredible, how it all went down. But we felt all along that this would be a team that would get to the postseason and we'd have a chance to win the World Series. And I can't say enough about what these guys did. Just an incredible ride, man. It's been some kind of exciting ride for all of us, and it's neat to see how excited that the city and how they came out and supported us.
Now let's talk about the season a little bit last year, because it wasn't a smooth ride. You won a World Series, but there were so many things you guys went through. From Jacob deGrom's injuries, 6 starts into the season, to Corey Seager getting hurt, Josh Young getting hurt, Jonah Heim getting hurt, the trades for Scherzer, the Scherzer self. I mean, there was a lot of adversity you had to face during the course of the season. How did you guys manage your way through that?
Yeah, I thought that was really the key for us to win a championship, is how these guys just focused forward and they didn't focus on what just happened as far as the injuries or the adversity, that we had to deal with. I mean, to lose DeGrom, and then you have a Dane Dunning that comes out of our bullpen and does the job that he did, really softened the blow of that. Then, a big blow obviously was losing Corey Seager. And here comes Duran. Now, we knew he could hit, but he hadn't played much shortstop. I played him at short a little bit in spring training. He goes out there and plays an incredible shortstop. So, it just was ongoing. Jonah Heim goes down. Mitch Garver went behind the plate and did a terrific job for us. Jankowski, the job he did when Doley went down a couple times. It was just nonstop how the next man up stepped up and really did the job. And that's what it takes. Every year, as you know, Steve, you just want your core players to have their years. You want to stay healthy, and that didn't happen. And you have to have depth, and that's that's where CY came through and provided that depth for us.
Now there's adversity, and then there's adversity. So the last weekend of the season, you guys are playing up in Seattle. You need to win 2 out of the 3. You only win 1. And you end up being the wild card winner instead of the division champion. Then you have to fly 5.5 hours across the country, flying over Arlington to get to Tampa. What was that flight like?
The flight was fine until we were over our city. Then I think we all were mad at ourselves, that we had to keep going to Tampa, because we could have had 5 days off and been at home and work out and gotten ready. Plus, we would have won that division, and instead we tied with the number of wins, but because the tiebreaker, we had to go to Tampa. But I really felt this with this team because I saw it all year how they bounced back, how resilient they were. That once we got to Tampa, we got to the workout, and then the postseason vibe would hit them, and that's really what happens once that regular season's over, because it's a different game. There's more cameras, more media, and so you have that feeling. So they kind of forgot, not kind of, they did forget what happened in Seattle, and they focused on the playoffs there in Tampa, and then we just got on a roll that's unprecedented. I mean, that still blows me away what happened.
Yeah, I mean, to think, to sweep the Braves, sweep the Orioles, and then the series with the Astros, and what you guys, the battle, winning on the road all the time. The importance of winning the first couple games on the road in Houston in that series, how critical was that?
Well, it won the pennant for us, I think, by winning those first two games. Because we didn't have a lot of luck in Houston, as you all know, especially in our ballpark during the regular season. So, to go in there, going against the odds a little bit and to win the first two games, I mean, that just sent a sense of confidence throughout everybody. And obviously coming back here and losing three now we got to bounce back like we had to do all year. But the first two games obviously are so huge because it's a lot easier, to win the best out of seven when you win the first two. I mean, you got to get to number 4. So now we're 2 games away, but never in our dreams coming back did we think we'd lose 3 here.
I think one of the things that happened in that series with the Astros that to me separates you from other managers in the game, where so much analytics is part of the game and everything else. And I know that you're not anti-analytics, but game 2 of all on the mound, bases loaded, nobody out, Altuve at the plate. Now, Altuve's got 5 career home runs against Eovaldi. He's got great numbers against him. Every other manager in baseball would have taken him out of the game, and I was thinking, wow, you're leaving him in right there. Tell me about the decision.
Well, I mean, looking at that decision, I'm looking at the man on the mound. And there's nobody else I want out there on the mound in a big situation, a big game than Nate. He's just incredible with that maniacal focus he has on every pitch, how determined he is. I love watching how competitive he is. And so he's the guy that went it out there. And when you have to make a pitch, he's got the ability to turn it up a notch. And that's what great pitchers do. They get better in that moment, and that's who he is. So it really was a really somewhat easy decision, I think, when you have a guy like him out there on the mound.
Bruce, this is your 4th World Series championship. You're one of 6 managers in baseball history that have done that. You're 10th all-time in wins. So without coming back, most people would agree you were going to go to the Hall of Fame whenever that time was due. Why come back and manage after the time away?
Well, it's a great question. I didn't know if I would come back, to be honest. When I stepped down, I just felt it was time. I needed back surgery, so that was a reason too. But as time went, I just started missing it, Steve. The first year, I said, I'm the smartest guy in the world, because the next year was the COVID year, and I wanted nothing to do with that, with wearing a mask and staying in the dugout, and can't be around anybody. You got bubbled in the hotel, so I was in a good place. But second year is when I really started missing it. And then what really hit me is when I was helping the French team. I was born in France, and I'm not French, but I did live there, so just that connection with France. They asked me if I would help them try to qualify for the WBC. So I went to Europe, and the tournament was in Regensburg, Germany, and I was in a dugout, and I went, man, I miss this. I miss this in a big way, but I never called anybody. And then after that season, ironically, CY called me to get my appetite on getting back in the dugout, and I said, man, I'd love to talk about it. And he flew out. We spent about 7 hours talking about it, and I was convinced I was ready to come back. Now, my wife was asking the same thing you're asking. Why? What is wrong with your life right now? You get up, you go fishing, you go golfing, you do what you want, and I said, I know, it's hard to explain, but she gets it. And, she had a great time this year, and she enjoyed bringing the family down to see me.
What was it that you missed? When you got into the dugout, what did you feel that you thought, that's the thing that I miss?
I think more than anything, it's just the camaraderie too, to go with the competition, being in the dugout, but just going to the ballpark, the preparation, being around the players. When the game starts, there's nothing like it for a manager, at least that's for me. But it's even the time getting ready before the game, and having a staff. I love traveling. A lot of people go, well, it's a grind, you got to travel. I love going to different cities and different ballparks. I miss it, and and who knows how much longer, but I had to scratch that itch. And at my age, it's not like you got a lot of years to figure out if you want to get back or not. And so I made that decision, and it's the best decision I made in a long time.
Yeah, I think everybody would agree with that. So that's what you missed when you were home about the game. What do you miss now about home being in the game?
Yeah, that's a great question. I have 2 grandkids that live a mile from me, so just the daily stuff with them. My grandson Braxton, he would come over to the house. Papa, are we going fishing or golfing today? Or sure. You miss some of that. Being around his T-ball, which I kid. When I came here last year, you might have heard me say that's what drove me back into managing. I was helping him in T-ball. I go, I can't handle this, so I'll go back to the big leagues. But I say that more than any time, just the daily activities with the family. But I will say it's kind of brought the family together. I have a son in San Diego, and they all came out here to Texas. They were all in on watching games here and wearing their Ranger outfits. So it's and plus my brothers and sisters, I have cousins. Every park I went to, I have family there, so it was good to see everybody a bit more frequently.
All right, so toughest thing, fishing with your grandson and keeping him patient, managing T-ball, or managing a Major League Baseball team?
Man, I tell you what, if I had to rank them, the fish and T-ball is really close. The fish doesn't bite in 10 seconds. He's chasing butterflies or something. But and the same with T-ball. He does like the defense. He didn't like defense, so he wanted DH. So in T-ball, you have to stand out there with them and kind of guide them where to go. Pop, I'm done with this. I want to hit. So he better be a good hitter because he wants to DH. I can tell you, but the managing, there's nothing like it. It's all of them you love, but the patience of managing, that's something you acquire year after year, I think.
And so, maturity level of Major League players and T-ball players, who's more mature?
Well, it depends which players you're talking about. Now, if you're talking about Hedges, it's a wash, but the rest of them, no. Seriously, and it's funny you ask that because I was out for 3 years, so now, your concern is, are you going to be able to connect with these guys? They're younger, and I've been out for 3 years, and I can't say enough about how these guys have taken care of Grandpa on the big league side too.
Well, instant credibility coming into the clubhouse for sure, and the results proved big time this season. All right, we're going to come back to this Town Hall special event on MLB Network Radio, find out a little bit more about Bruce Bochy, the person, here on MLB Network Radio, Sirius XM, Channel 89. Welcome back to the special Town Hall on Sirius XM, MLB Network Radio, visiting with the manager of the world champion Texas Rangers, Bruce Bochy, at Globe Life Field in front of thousands of fans here at the FanFest, a sold-out FanFest for the first time in quite a while, this beautiful facility here. And so, Bruce, you were born in France. Now, you're not French, but you're born in France. Your dad was in the military. What was that experience like? Do you remember it? Do you speak any French?
I don't remember any of it, to be honest. I left France when I was 3 years old. My sister was born there too. She's a little bit older than I am, but no, I don't speak French. Now, when I started to work with the French team, that was during the COVID year, and they ended up canceling the qualifying round. We were in Tucson working out. So I said, I'm going to try to learn this language, and I worked every day at it. I thought I was making some headway. Then I took like 3 months off, and I couldn't remember a word. So, you get my age trying to learn a new language. That's not the easiest thing to do. But what I did do, we did take a vacation to France, because I really wanted to go to Normandy. That's one of the most moving experiences I've ever done. And but we did go to the little town I was born in. It's called Boussac. Atlantis to Boussac. And so anyway, we make this trip. It's in Bordeaux country. And so we go there, but I couldn't find the Army base. And so we came all the way back to the States, and my sister says, I am so sorry. I sent you to the wrong Boussac. And I had my pictures every time. So anyway, I went back to France, last year. So they took me to the Boussac where I was born. They had a little parade for me. They were unbelievable. I had no idea who I was or what I did, but anyway, they broke out their best wine, and I had the best time there. 2 days in Boussac.
So I know you like whiskey and rye and bourbon. Where does champagne, if we have the flight of drinks here, where does champagne come in for you on that flight of drinks?
It's at the top, champagne.
Do you just pour it on your head, or do you drink it?
No, you know what? I like a nice champagne. Don't get me wrong. I like to sip on it, but there's nothing like it getting poured over you. Yeah. Burns a little bit at first, but it's that good hurt. No, I appreciate champagne very much.
Now, your dad was in the military. What sort of impact did that have on your life?
Yeah, huge baseball fan. I'll start with that. And so he's the one that kind of helped develop a passion in baseball for me. Now, he was gone a lot. There were times he went to Korea for a year, for example. My mom ended up coaching. I did have an older brother that he kind of guided me too. He was 4 years older. He was drafted by the Twins, so I followed him everywhere. And so my father was one that, he was big on discipline, trust me, but he loved the game, and so he went out and he worked with us all the time. Now, I shouldn't say work, just played with us, hitting his ground balls, just trying to help us become better players. He coached the base team. He was the head coach, back when I lived in Panama. That's where it started for me, when we went from France to end up going to Panama a few years later after a stop in South Carolina. And it's warm there all year, so we play baseball all year round. So that's where it all started with me as far as loving the game. Then he got stationed at the Pentagon in Northern Virginia. And he took me to see the Washington Senators. That's back when Frank Howard was there, and Mike Epstein and those guys. When I saw a Major League field, I said, man, this is what I wanted to do. And ironically, they came here to Texas. So this has kind of gone full circle for me, because I was a huge Washington Senators fan.
Interesting. And I always am intrigued by people in the game, where they learn the love of the game, but also the leadership skills and those sorts of things. Now, you played in the major leagues for about 7 or 8 years, parts of 7 or 8 years, but working your way up. Now, I know you were at Eastern Florida College for a bit, then you went to South Alabama. I remember there's a story about Eddie Stanky there, who's like, people in baseball, the Eddie Stanky stories are renowned. But you went there, and you're watching a workout, and he was teaching people how to get hit by a pitch.
Right. Actually, school is now Eastern Florida, but it was Brevard Community College then. And coming out of high school, I wasn't drafted. I wanted a place to play, and so the local junior college, they had me come and play first base. I was a catcher, but they had a sophomore catcher. So anyway, after 2 years, I grew, I got stronger, and then my options became available, and I got drafted by Houston, but I signed a letter of intent to play for Eddie Stanky, in which I was looking forward to. And that first drill, he was working with the players on how to get hit by a pitch, and they had to lean into it. they had a machine cranked up to about 85, 90 miles an hour. And I'm looking at that and going, I'm not up there to get hit by a pitch. I said, I think I'll sign a professional deal here. So I ended up signing with Houston, so I didn't actually play at South Alabama. But and I kind of, I look back, it would have been nice to play a year for Eddie because I heard so many great things about him. But, I was ready to sign after that drill.
Now, when you played, you had a lot of different managers, and I'm curious who impacted you the most with regard to your learning a managerial style. Either like you watched them and you thought, I want to be like that, or I don't really want to do it that way. If I have a chance to do it, I'll do it differently.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, you take something from everybody, the goods and the good stuff and the bad stuff. But I'll say Bill Verdon was the one that impacted me more than anything. And what I loved about Bill was stoic. But if he had an issue with you, he brought you in the office. You didn't read about it in the papers. He was up front with you. It may not be what you wanted to hear, but you knew he was honest. And I love that. He was supportive. He wasn't a guy that would berate you if you made a mistake on the field, but he'd bring you in the office and say, hey, I think you could have done this or that. And so I always appreciated that. And granted, he was my first manager. Actually, my first manager, rookie ball in Covington, Virginia, Billy Smith. I loved him too, very similar. But I played for guys I'd learned from Dick Williams, huge stickler for fundamentals. He really impacted me a lot. So very close to Bill Verdon as far as who played the biggest role. I played for Larry Boa. I thought Larry knew baseball as much as anybody. So I think I took something from all of them.
Somebody once said to me that they changed the dynamic with their kids when they decided, instead of teaching my kids something, I want to learn from my kids. And it changes the energy level that's there. Managing is like being a parent a lot of times with players. Which players, if are there any that you learned from the most, that working with them taught you the most? What players?
Yeah, well, I came up to Houston, so I'm going to start with him. Joe Morgan was just incredible to sit on the bench with. Now, Joe, this was at the tail end of his career. He was kind of in a platoon situation with Rafael Landis-Story, but we would sit and we'd talk baseball. And Jesus Alou, I'm going to put in there too, because he was a pinch hitter. And so those guys would sit with me and we'd talk baseball, and they were great. I mean, if I struck out, Jesus would go, hey, you look dangerous up there, though. He was always very positive, And so those guys were huge. Enos Cabell was a locker mate who out. I always appreciated, just being around him. And, J.R. Richard and I were very close friends. We fished a lot, and so those guys, for a rookie, they impact you so much with how they guide you. But I had Nolan Ryan, 1980. Just being around the big leaguers, you try to learn from them, and our guys do a great job. And I try to instill that in our veterans to help out these young kids when they come up.
Now, a lot of people think it's hard to motivate millionaires, right? They're players, it's hard to motivate them. I understand that Braveheart is something that you've gone to, Days of Thunder, and Gideon against the Medianites, what is it? Medianites. Tell us why those are your go-tos.
You know what? As a manager, you look at things that you think can help inspire, or things that might click, with baseball. And that's, I've got a really good friend that, he'll call me up, hey, have you seen this or have you seen that? Gideon, for example, that came from my sister, because, I was talking about, hey, we're going against all odds. And she goes, well, about Gideon. So, I wired up something about Gideon, but Braveheart, that came from a friend of mine, Days of Thunder. I have my network of friends that, they'll also bring up something that, might make sense for these guys to look at, that might help inspire or motivate. Because I've always felt that, the best way to get the most out of players, if you can, is somehow get something to inspire them. And so that's kind of been my thinking as I've gotten older here. Just, I'll watch a movie and go, I like that, or, listen to a song. For example, Garth Brooks, Standing Outside the Fire. You can't be consumed by desire if you're standing outside the fire. So, something like that I've used. Or Doug McGraw, how bad do you want it? So it's just something may hit home that you may use. I'll be honest, last year, our coaches do such a great job with our meetings now, which we didn't have in my earlier years, but the pitchers meetings and hitters meetings, they come up with their own stuff. So I enjoy going to those to listen to them.
I'll tell you what, I want to play for them. How about you? Huh? Yeah, I'll tell you, the motivation for sure. Well, listen, we're going to continue the very special Town Hall event on SiriusXM, MLB Network Radio with Bruce Bochy next. Welcome back to the Town Hall on SiriusXM, MLB Network Radio. Visit with manager Bruce Bochy of the Texas Rangers, world champion Texas Rangers here at Globe Life Field in front of thousands of fans that are showing up for FanFest. Just an extraordinary day here in Arlington. So Bruce, Mike Maddox described you as, quote, walk slow, talk slow, think fast, quote. Now, the walk slow just may be because that's how you're walking right now, with everything that's bionic in there right now. But the walk slow and talk slow and think fast moniker, does it fit?
I guess I'd have to say yes, it fits, because I do walk slow, and I know I talk slow. My roots are North Carolina. If you listen to my mom, she talked really slow, but and in our game you have to think fast, especially with the game now with the clock. You really got to keep up with it. But the thinking fast part, I think all goes with your preparation before the game, so that enables you to think fast. So yeah, I've got 2 new hips, I got a new knee. I'm like Frankenstein. They had to put me back together here. What ticks me off is I was talking to Pudge, Pudge is here, Pudge Rodriguez, and we're having breakfast and we're talking. I go, have you had any surgeries? No. This guy caught every game in the old ballpark, no air conditioning, played 12 years of winter ball. He's had no surgeries. I go, wait a minute, and I got all these parts replaced. I said, I guess it pays to be built a little lower to the ground. He built like a catcher a little bit. And he threw 100 miles an hour, never had any arm issues. Incredible. Oh, real quick, I said Tug McGraw. I meant Tim McGraw. I got to correct that.
Forgiven. So let me ask you, you started managing in 1995. 10 of your players this year were not born in 1995. So you've been managing for quite a while. Tell me about that first interview. Larry Lucchino, I believe, was interviewing you, and I think he got you confused with Bruce Bochy back then, didn't he?
Yeah, it was funny. John Morris had just purchased the San Diego Padres, and Randy Smith was the general manager. He's the one that hired me, and forever grateful. And I try to remind him every time I see him. And I had him for 1 year, unfortunately. He went on to Detroit, but I stayed there in San Diego. But anyway, Larry goes, well, who's going to be our manager? And Randy said, Bruce Bochy. And in his mind, he's thinking Bruce Bochy, who was the 300 hitter. Bruce Bochy was very good to me, and I'll tell you why. Sometimes I would get his bats. I got his Nike check one time.
Oh, really?
And I wore Nikes. I go, well, this is cool. They're paying me. But they meant to pay him. So anyway, that's a long story. We'll go. But so Larry, we end up becoming very good friends. But Larry was tough. He in the interview, he just said, hey, I just want you to give me one word description of every player. That's kind of hard to do with 26, 25 players, or counting, extra guys. That wasn't that easy.
Interesting. So you managed 12 years there. One of the things I've heard is we are every age we've ever been. So all of your experience in San Diego is still part of who you are right now. Tell me about those 12 years there, what that was like, what you learned, and what part of that is still you today.
Yeah, well, that was where I made my debut, and that was 1995, and that was a year that, there was a lockout. So, we have they call them scabs, but the players that came in, the
Replacement players was the nice word for it.
Yeah, sorry, but I was really uncomfortable, with the replacement players because I was worried about if our real players were going to accept me, but I knew most of them. I played with Tony Gwynn, Andy Bennis, and these guys, so I thought I would be all right. But first year was a challenging year, but I had 12 great years there. After Randy left, I had Kevin Towers, and we had a very close relationship, and so they were tremendous years. The second year, we won our division. We went in LA. We had to sweep them 3 games to win our division, the last 3 games, and but '96, we got knocked out by St. Louis early. And then '98, we ended up going to the World Series and got beat by the Yankees for that great team they had. And so great memories there. I lived there. I played there, so I made my home there. So, I was living at home, driving to the ballpark, and just tremendous time there. And, I had 1 more year on my contract, but I felt, you know what, it's time for a change. I was ready for a change. I thought they could use another voice. So after the '06 seasons when I went up to San Francisco.
How do you know so I've heard that before from a lot of managers, that at the end of the year I want to evaluate whether my message is still getting through, whether I'm still having the kind of impact. How do you gauge that?
It's a feel, it's just a gut feel on where you're at personally, or where you may be at with the club. Do you need another challenge? Or you still have the same feeling as like for me, the same feelings I did in 1995 when, I managed my first game. I just felt like I was personally ready for a change, but, you got to think about them too. And so it was the right thing to do, the right move, and it was a great move for me. I enjoyed my next chapter in San Francisco.
Well, 13 years in San Francisco, including championships in 2010, 12, and 14. 3 World Series championships there, plus the one here. 40 your name right now, one of 6 managers that have ever done that in Major League Baseball history. But tell me about that time in San Francisco. You had, Buster Posey sort of as the leader of the team, some of the pitchers there, but you were always a team that seemed fundamentally sound with good pitching that scored enough. Right, you weren't a big powerhouse offensive team, but it was a team that you got the most out of. Tell us about that experience.
Yeah, well, when I first went up there, we were more of an offensive ball club. In our division, there's a lot of big ballparks. San Francisco, San Diego, that's before the new ballpark. We had LA, and so, we thought, I'm talking about Brian Sabian, who brought me up there, said, let's change our philosophy. Let's get more pitching and defense minded here, and start going with better athletes, I guess, instead of sluggers. Had Barry the first year, but we were an older ball club, so transformation started changing there. And we started bringing up some great pitching because of our scouting department. Started with Matt Cain, Matt was one of the first ones, but Tim Lincecum and Baumgartner, these guys were coming up through our system. And so it just changed the whole ball club. So we wanted the good defense go with the good pitching. So we started getting more athletic, and that's when you start seeing guys like Crawford coming up, playing defense for us, Joe Panic, guys like that. We wanted more speed in the outfield, and we still had a good hitting. And of course, what really changed our club was, the year that we drafted Buster Posey, and similar to what Jonah Heim is to us, but Buster just, what an impact player he was, and changed our club. When we brought him up in 2010, I think it's May 19th, we were a different club, and he led us to the World Series that year and 2 more times.
You know how I know it's important that Buster Posey came up? You remember the date that he got called up. That is something special right there. How about with Joe Mauer getting into the Hall of Fame, Buster Posey's case looks pretty good now, I would think.
I agree. You know, the catchers, I don't think you look at longevity near as much, and you look at the stress on the bodies and what they go through and to put up numbers, and for him, I don't know what box you need to check off. Rookie of the year, he won a batting title, 3 championships. So to me, it's a no-brainer that Buster will be in there. But with Joe going in, I think that does just make it that much more obvious.
In baseball, one of the things that we're trained is keep the even keel. Don't get too high. Don't get too low. Just maintain that even keel. Fans, however, get emotional, right? The roller coaster of baseball. It's good for talk radio. Fans ride that wave of emotion as well. You never seem to get riled up. Like, I watch you thinking, what's going on in there? Tell me a time when you've actually gotten really mad. What gets you really mad?
Well, I think some players could tell you, don't let what you see belie what's going on, because there are times when I've had my snaps. They've gotten better as I've gotten older, but, just an example, I remember San Francisco in the dugout, I kicked a bucket. There's a ball bucket there where, the infielders would, come in and get I kicked that thing and my foot got stuck in it. I couldn't get it out. And I hear this giggling behind me. All the guys are laughing. Now I'm madder, than ever. But another one was coming up, Houston at the old Astrodome. You remember the Astrodome?
Sure.
You had to go up these steps, and it had drywall, so you kind of just followed it. And Mark Kroon, who I love Mark Kroon, but he blew a save, and we walked a couple guys, made a couple of errors. So we're going up there, and I don't know it, but he's right behind me. So I kicked a wall on my way up because we just got walked off. And my foot goes right through the drywall. So it's stuck in there, and I can't move. And Kroon's trying to, he's scared to death. He said, I was trying to get back there. And I turned around and said, Crooney, help me, get this foot out. So, we have our moments. We all play with emotion. I don't care who you are, but, I'm embarrassed when it ever happens in the dugout anymore. Those were my younger years.
Now, catching coach Bobby Wilson says he writes down things that you say, Bochyisms, and he calls it Bochy ball. How would you describe Bochy ball? Like, what is the stuff that he's writing down? Tell us some of that defines who you are.
Wow, that's a hard one. I don't know what he's writing down. I can't wait to see Bobby to talk about this. I told these coaches, what we say stays between us, but you know what? I give him a hard time. Sometimes, the catcher, a wild pitch would get by him. I said, nice job, Bobby. It's good job teaching him, or he'll drop a ball. I said, well, I see Bobby, he's taking after you, things like that. But you know what? I got to check with them. I'm not sure what I can't give you a great example because I don't know.
Yeah, so one of the things over the years that being a general manager, running the minor leagues, being involved with a lot of teams, I see teams take on the personality of their manager. What is the personality of the Texas Rangers in 2023?
Yeah, you know what? I don't know if I want them to take my personality.
But I think they do.
I think a little bit, but that's who they are. For example, when they hit a home run, we don't have a ritual. They come in, it's like been there, done that. But I want these guys to be who they are. If there's somebody plays with emotion, as long as we do it in the right way. Garcia, a goalie, for example, I think you fans love it. He's going to wear it on his sleeve a little bit more, but Corey Seager is just so professional. Marcus, they're very stoic and how they handle success, but they still, they play with emotion, and I want these guys to enjoy, play with passion. That's playing with joy and enthusiasm. But these guys rein it in, and I just love how confident they are, but how humble they are too, and that if that's taken on my personality, then I'm good with that.
Has Adolis tried to pull you in to choreograph a handshake with him of some sort?
Yeah, I'm not good with that, keeping up with the moves. Yeah, I enjoy watching them, though. I do. Before the game starts, if you ever watch me, I'm looking down the dugouts, but I can't memorize that many moves.
I can't either.
I don't have the dance moves either.
Our SiriusXM Town Hall continues with Bruce Bochy with fan questions coming up next from Globe Life Field in Arlington, Texas. For the Rangers fans, they have an opportunity to ask the skipper some questions. Young man, what do you have?
Bruce Bochy, what does it feel like to be the only person to hit a walk-off home run against Nolan Ryan?
No, it's a good feeling. I mean, Nolan was a teammate of mine, and he was here last year, and who was it? I think Mike Maddox brought it up to him, or anyway, he said, I don't remember that. I go, yeah, you do. Come on, I know you do. But it was in San Diego, and I'll tell you a quick story behind it. Was after the home run, they had put a red carpet to my locker, and Greg Nettles had put a bunch of beers in my helmet, whatever, as part of the celebration. But 2 days later, Nolan was taking a bullpen, and I was shagging him, and in right field, he says, "Boch, here's what I got for you next time." And he dropped down and threw it about 100 miles an hour where my head would have been, and hit that wall. So, but he claims he doesn't remember it, but I'm not sure.
I'm sure he does.
It feels good, though. I'm
I think
sorry.
we're having a little microphone issue there. The White House.
I can't hear.
Yeah, I can't either. So I think the question is, when you went to the White House after the World Series, what was that experience like?
Oh, all right. I think I got it. Are you talking about my experience when I went to the White House? Yeah. I mean, I've said this, winning a World Series, it's a gift that keeps on giving. It really does. Obviously, the celebration afterward, the parade, there's nothing like the parade. We still have the ring ceremony coming up, but like today, all of you that have come out, how much it's impacted you, and that's part of it. Going to the White House, and I lived in Northern Virginia for 4 years, so that's it's kind of a special place for me anyway. When I first went there, I just realized, hey, this is part of what happens when you win the World Series. So pretty surreal moment. I still remember President Obama and I, we were by ourselves in a room before we went up and had to say a few words. And here I am talking to the President of the United States, and it kind of blew me away looking back at it.
And he was probably thinking, I'm talking to the manager right here too, as well. Young lady?
What would your job be if you weren't the manager for the Texas Rangers?
What
would your job be if you weren't the manager?
What would my job be? Good question. I'd like to say a fishing guide. I'd love to fish, but no, I probably would be a firefighter. And the reason I'm saying that, my oldest son is one. He's a firefighter in San Francisco, and it seems exciting. He loves it, and it's kind of like baseball. They have a team of guys, and very rewarding. So that might be where I would have liked to have headed.
Interesting. Young man?
What does baseball mean? What does baseball mean with the Texas Rangers?
What does baseball mean to you with the Texas Rangers?
What's it mean to me with the Texas Rangers? Again, I didn't know if I was going to come back, but when I came back, I was all in. And so, I've said this, your gratitude meter shoots way up when you've been out of the game for a while. It really does. And, and of course, CY means a lot to me. He pitched for me, and for him to give me this chance to, get back in the dugout. I'm forever grateful for that. you know, for ownership, Ray Davis, but the friends that I have met here already, the team. So it means a lot. It's a big part of my life already, and it's been some kind of ride, trust me. So I'm just having the time of my life right now.
Well, you certainly have been a drought buster. 52-year drought in San Francisco before the first championship in 2010, and 52 years here as well. So you've done it 2 times. Young man, what do you have?
Who do you think the funniest Rangers player is besides Austin Hedges?
Beside Austin, that's a good one. You know, Nate Lowe would have to be up there. Nate, he's loose and free. You know, he says what he wants. He's got a great sense of humor. They all do, though. You know, they all have a lot of fun. I'm trying to think if I'm leaving anybody out, but I'd put them up there.
Thank you.
You got it.
All right, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Hey, Skip.
Hey.
Thanks for the trophy. What do you attribute the looseness players exhibited during the playoffs? Even when we were kind of up against it, and the losses here, when they went back to play, it seemed very loose and very calm, and you know, a lot of players joking around and things like that, and it kind of helped contribute it back to the win. Even in the World Series, everybody's very loose. They were just having a huge attitude.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. You know, it's a team, or is a team that has a very even keel, even presence about them, and that works in the postseason. They don't get overamped, they don't get down, and that's the way they were all year. That's why I think we were the most resilient team in baseball. When you look at all that we went through, and then we go to the postseason, it really works. It's almost like they have a slow heartbeat, and very calm, but very confident, and it starts with the leaders on this club up the middle. When you look at Corey and Marcus, you know, they're the ones that are leading the way, and you get your live wire with Adolis and Tavares, but it's always good to have a blend, and so it just works very well for us. And pitchers, you know, I think across the board they have you hear Leclerc's walk-up music when he comes in. You almost fall asleep when you hear his music. I mean, it's so low, but that's how he likes it, instead of getting overamped.
I do think, though, that when I said earlier about the team taking on the personality of the manager, I think that situation is part of Bruce's humble nature. I think they took on his personality when things were adverse and going against them. They rallied because of their manager as well. Sir?
Thanks for your leadership in bringing us a world championship.
Thank you.
We're not tired of saying that yet. My question is, how does managing change for you from regular season to playoffs to World Series?
Yeah. Well, during the regular season, it's 162 games, so you got to, you know, think about long term at that point. For example, your bullpen. You know, I know sometimes you may get frustrated when I don't go get that starter, or you know, I don't go get a reliever that you want, but you got to take care of those guys because you need them down the stretch. So, you know, there's always a reason why we're doing things, but when you get to the postseason, it's a little different sense of urgency. You don't have that margin of error, so to speak. So, you know, I think you got to play every game to win. You worry about tomorrow. It's hard to do that during the regular season. You'll burn them out and run these guys into the ground, including giving your regular players, they need days off. But postseason, if you notice, nobody's getting a day off then, so it's a different game. And when I hear people say, well, that's how we did it all season, I don't buy into that, because you don't do it how you did it all season. You know, there's a little different sense of urgency.
Well, we haven't had a repeat champion in baseball since 2000 when the Yankees beat my Mets team that year. So, what are we going to do to have a repeat championship in 2024 here in Texas? What do you have to do to make it happen again?
Well, it's great to be in this position, to have a chance to go back to back. And, you know, excuse me, you know, I've had 3 of those chances, it hasn't worked out. So, it's, you know, there's little adjustments to be made. We've talked about that already going into spring training, but, you know, there's such a fine line between, you know, watching guys in the spring because we have a short off season and because you have to be ready when that season starts. That first month is, you know, that's a big month too, but these are things we'll talk about. But I just hope we do what we did last year. I hope we stay healthier, first of all, but I just hope that this club shows that same ability to bounce back through all the adversity and you know, get the same years that we got from our guys, and I'll take our chances.
Well, Bruce, thanks so much for giving so much time to me and to everybody else here today. And I think that on everybody's behalf, congratulations to you for a World Championship. Thank you so much, and all the best of luck in 24.
Thank you. Thank y'all for coming out too, man. Let's all get ready for a great year. All right? See you at the ballpark.
That's it for us for this town hall in Arlington, Texas with Bruce Bochy, the manager of the Texas Rangers.
This Bruce Bochy Town Hall interview, done by Steve Phillips of MLB Network, was recorded at Texas Rangers FanFest 2024. From the first row, I enjoyed being there, getting it for you. Let me know in the comments what was your favorite question or answer from Bochy. Lots more from the FanFest and this interview here on the channel. Subscribe, like, share, all those things. Most importantly, go Rangers. If you want to save $5 to a Frisco Roughriders game, the AA affiliate of the Texas Rangers, just check the description of this video. Use the link that can be found there. Save $5 on a ticket to the game, and you'll be supporting this channel too. Thanks again. Go Rangers.